Hello everyone. We have some ban list updates to cover that will come into effect for the 3-card blind main event tournament in June. As a reminder, as a community, you voted on these 5 cards to determine whether you would like them to be added to the ban list or remain legal in the format. Of these 5 cards, all of them were added to the ban list with the exception of Tomb of Arammy, so let's start the discussion there. Tomb of Arammy has made waves in the format recently. Back in April, it was our champion's winning deck in the Exemplar pod, and it put up an impressive performance this month in higher elos as well. In combination with a storage land and a hand attack spell, this deck carries both the benefits that turn 1 hand attack has, while still being able to run a more resilient and powerful threat. With a relatively even spread of votes, the community seems to be in consensus about the potential of Tomb of Arammy, but many folks felt indifferent about the card or enjoyed the interesting niche it occupies in the format. Among the cards that were added to the ban list this month, Moth Nexus had the lowest average opinion by far. As a recently unbanned card, I think in the minds of many people, the card had exhausted any benefit of the doubt it ever had. Between its colorful history of dominating past metas, and the fact that the card was the most popular card this month and claimed 4 pod wins, the community has overwhelmingly chosen to move the card back onto the ban list. Next up we have Riing Dawnbreaker, which was one of the Dragonstorm Tarkir cards that we expected to have the largest impact. Although not quite as negative as Moth Nexus, the community was strongly in favor of Riing Dawnbreaker being added to the ban list. In combination with Mox Pearl and Rashadenport, Riing Dawnbreaker won multiple pods as well as our Exemplar pod overall. Riing Dawnbreaker represents a direct upgrade to decks like Words of Wilding or Sarcomancy Tel'Gelad stylus, and these decks have historically been strong enough to win pods and have a significant impact on the meta, even without being able to rely on Rashadenport. Riing Dawnbreaker being banned will return these token-based strategies to their former power level and hopefully give other decks some room to breathe. Rashadenport itself was a more divisive vote, with a significant number of folks that were holdouts that wanted it to remain legal in the format. As long as Rashadenport has been legal, any 2-drop that has cost a generic and a colored pip is able to run it as a backup plan that allows you to deploy your entire strategy on turn 1 while still being able to rely on soft land destruction. The holdouts that wanted Rashadenport to remain legal may have seen this characteristic as a means for weaker 2-drops to be able to fight for viability in the format. However, Rashadenport has been a critical and effective part of the meta for a long time, and has had the side effect of edging out many depletion-based 2-drop decks, both because the card itself can be used to turn off depletion lands by keeping them tapped outside of their owner's main phase, and because many 2-drop decks would simply rather run Rashadenport and be able to deploy their strategy on turn 1 than slow down their game plan to be able to cast 2 2-drops. Time will tell if this is a sufficient enough change to make the split between Mox decks and depletion decks a little more equitable. And finally, we have Dreams of Steel and Oil and Intimidation Tactics. We bundled these 2 cards because in 3-card blind, these 2 cards do the exact same thing in basically every scenario that is likely to occur. Dreams of Steel and Oil was the most popular turn 1 hand attack spell, and the fact that it exiles the chosen card makes it a significant upgrade to a card like Divest. Although the distinction between exile and discard is only relevant for a few matches, Dreams of Steel and Oil and Intimidation Tactics being added to the ban list opens up a more consistent weakness across turn 1 hand attack spells that players who dislike losing to these strategies can leverage to their advantage. And of course, as usual, we have to cover the outcome of the unbanned vote that supporters of this community have the privilege of participating in. Among all of the cards that supporters had the ability to unban, none of them got enough support to be removed from the ban list. And before we wrap up here, I wanted to remind everyone that the cards from the upcoming Final Fantasy set will be legal to play in next month's 3-card blind main event tournament. Be sure to review the cards in the upcoming set and be on the lookout for cards like Saz's Chocobo and Cecil Dark Knight. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can all brew up for next month. Thanks for watching everyone, and see you soon.